I worked in enterprise software space for 10 years, and it was very clear. We saw the consumer space overtaken by mobile. We get everything done. Even we walk with our cell phones with our heads down. But in the enterprise space, it's still actually in its infancy. People are trying to figure out what that means for their business. So then we looked at business software that companies use to run their business, CRM, ERP, payroll systems even, right? So the software is old. It's written either 30 years ago, and in CRM case, Salesforce case, this is written 12 years ago. They're great. They're a great SaaS company. They're a web company, but they don't have a mobile component. So when we said, let's build a mobile enterprise company, what we really mean is we want to become a serious enterprise software company that's focused on mobile. Think of the next generation business software. We are the platform. So we have a CRM, we have a sales intelligence platform, we have a ERP that's completely integrated, and we have a payroll system and performance management system. So think of this classic SAP Oracle stack, but clearly geared towards the future devices, mobile, and even the desktop machines that we would use will be touch-based, right, in a couple of years from now. So
you're really thinking forward in terms of how do we integrate ourselves, regardless of what the new technologies that are coming out, to not become obsolete at some point, and create a platform where everybody has to, in essence, rely on you in order to deliver.
In order to run their business. So we want to build that mobile enterprise company. But as a stepping stone, we built a mobile app for Salesforce, because Salesforce themselves don't have a good mobile app. So we have paying customers. We are making some really great partnerships that we'll talk about soon in our press releases. But we've seen good traction. That's the whole point of finding something that's lacking, right? So as a stepping stone, this was our first venture. Nobody's going to give us millions of dollars to build this huge platform. So how do you prove yourself, right? You can come up with a product, you can execute. Start with the mobile, offering a mobile layer of a great solution that's already there.
So when you decided to start this business, were you thinking already of your exit strategy in terms of selling the company at some point or being acquired? Because it almost seems like at some point this will be dominating to where somebody will buy you out.
Right. So
and I'm asking in terms of just strategy on the business side.
Right.
When somebody's planning a business and an idea, how do they take it to the next level?
Right. So there are companies that build based on exit strategies, and you have to have a few exit strategies, right? You can't really build for acquisition. Then you are actually betting on one particular company or a couple particular companies. So for me personally, there are people that actually do just build targeting acquisition, and that's great, it works out for them. But for me individually, I have to take different choices. Failure, of course, is always an option, right? So how do we deal with that? How gracefully do we deal with it?
And the unpredictability, I think, of what's coming, what's next in the technology sector.
You're always thinking about, okay, there's an acquisition path, there's a chance that we will actually be the next big company. So how do I plan to grow? How do I step aside and bring the people that can grow and scale the company? This is all you have to think about from day one, right? Because that's just the reality of it. And there's the chance that others...
That's amazing intelligence to have, to be able to sit back and think of those things way before you even step into the realm of I'm starting something.
Right.
I mean, to even go that way. Do you think a lot of people, I'm not sure if a lot of people even think about that. I think they're stuck on the idea.
Right.
This is what I want to do without all the other pieces of the puzzle. To what extent do you think they have to do that homework in order to be successful in the end, or versus winging it and really just holding on to that idea, and then everything else will fall into place? Just from your experience working with startups and seeing what's going on in Silicon Valley, where do you find that balance of just, I'm just going to go for it. Everything else will just happen.
Right. So I think really lasting successful companies, the difference between that and failures is thinking about strategy, execution, right? So they have, the most successful founders actually find people who can grow the company, because because as a founder, you can only grow the company up to a point. And then they learn lessons, right? I mean, think about Larry Page and Sergey Brin. They stepped aside for a while, let Eric Schmidt, who has experience running big companies, and then they learned from him and then took over, right? So that's the beautiful way of executing. Whereas not thinking about these things, just being obsessed about the product. It can work, by the way, especially if you are a consumer app, right? You invented a really clever game and that goes viral, and you really don't have to think about scaling, because that's just making money and that's all you wanted. Fine. But if you're really building a company that's lasting, then you do have to think about it from day one, which is why I go back to starting a company really entails a lot of things. Sitting first at the drawing board and thinking about different possibilities. Product is part and parcel of it, but there's a lot more moving components around it.